Hey Ally gamers, No Man's Sky on the ROG Ally is just an absolute joy to play. So we're going to have a look at some of the modes and what we've found our best settings to be while we've been playing. Every time I dive into this game I lose a few hours of my life. It is worth it every time though. There's so much to this game. If you are going to be playing on the Ally, then this is going to take a lot of your time. Let's start off then with some 15 watt 720p performance. This is running the lowest settings in the game. Even though I seem to set this in game to standard, it always seems to put the base complexity up to enhanced. And I've also capped the in-game FPS at 60, as well as turning off the motion blur amount as well. On the Ally screen, it is very good looking even at 720p. I'm really surprised at this. So you could quite happily play all the way through the game on these settings, getting the best out of your battery life and pretty rock solid 60 frames per second. It does waver here and there, but if you are mostly playing on battery, then this is definitely going to be the settings that you want to be using, or manually tweaking your performance to bring that wattage down under 20 watts to really extend that battery life. With these settings as it is, you're going to get around an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's probably going to be enough for most play sessions. And if we look at some daytime footage, we do dip down into the 50 frames per second occasionally, especially when we run into new areas and we get the loading spikes. But for the most part, it does still stick up towards that 60 frames per second mark and looks absolutely fantastic. Now we can increase the resolution to 1080p and still run at 15 watts. Remembering that you have to change both in-game and the Ally settings in Command Center, as that no longer auto changes since BIOS 319 for some reason. You'll see that we do dip now into the 30 to 40 range quite often with the frames per second, even though when we're flying around and it's stable it does seem to get close to 60, especially when we're coming into landing sections it does drop back down to that 30 to 40 range. It also pushes the battery wattage up to the 23 range, so you're going to be much closer to that hour to an hour and a half range, even on the 15 watt setting. If you stick with the standard settings though and boost it to 25 watts, you are going to get a pretty solid 60 frames per second all of the time, and still around an hour to an hour and a half on the battery. Now, if you do want a much better looking playthrough though, you can put this up to enhanced, and you will need to restart your game to get these settings fully at 1080p. And this is where this game really starts to shine, especially on the Ally screen. On the enhanced settings at 1080p, this is absolutely gorgeous. Now, for getting the most out of this, you are going to want to plug in and get that 30 watt turbo boost, and it will still get down into the 30 and 40 range in some of the loading spikes, but out and about, generally it does still push up to the 50 to 60 range. But when we come into planets, day and night, we'll start with some nighttime footage here. It looks absolutely crystal clear on the Ally display, and this is the way that I've been playing most of my time on the Ally. I've clocked up another couple of hours of No Man's Sky time. I'm still only scratching the surface of this game. Daytime it actually seems to perform a little bit better, around the 40 to 50 range, but as we're flying around the planet here, you'll just see how good looking this game is. And if you're looking at this at the full resolution on your screen, just how crystal clear that image is as well. I can't stress just how good this actually looks on the Ally screen, so if you haven't played No Man's Sky, then do consider picking it up in the sale, and you will lose quite a few hundred hours of your life, but the game is worth it. Let us know in the comments below what settings you're running this as and how far through the game you are. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.